Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings podcast, and today we're starting a brand new 5-part series called Tracing Dirty Jobs of the Past. These were the jobs nobody wanted, but somebody had to do. They kept society going, even if history forgot them. In this first episode, we're going to meet the night soil man. It's not glamorous. In fact, it's one of the filthiest jobs in history, but it's also one your ancestors may have done, especially if they lived in a city before the age of indoor plumbing. So let's get into it. Before indoor plumbing and modern sewage systems, someone had to deal with what was left behind. Literally. The night soil man was the person responsible for removing human waste from outhouses, chamber pots, and underground cesspools. It was as unpleasant as it sounds. The term night soil was just a polite way of saying human waste. In crowded towns and cities, it built up quickly. People dumped chamber pots into backyard pits or into brick-lined vaults beneath buildings. Without real plumbing, someone had to come clean it out, and they usually worked in the middle of the night. So what did the job involve? These workers came out after dark, mostly to avoid the public, but also to dodge the worst of the smell. They wore heavy aprons, sometimes oiled to keep the mess off, and carried buckets or wooden tubs. Using long-handled scoops, they would dig the waste out and pour it into wagons. From there, they'd haul it away, usually outside city limits, or to farms that were willing to buy it as fertilizer. It was a tough, dangerous job. These men didn't have gloves or protective masks. They breathed in terrible fumes and were constantly around harmful bacteria. Some even fell into the cesspools while working, and not everyone survived. Methane gas could build up and explode in poorly ventilated spaces, and there were always rats, insects, and infections to deal with. The work left its mark on people. Still, the cities depended on them. Most people never thought about what happened after the privy filled up, until something went wrong. In the 1800s, when night soil men in London went on strike, it only took a few days for conditions to become a public crisis. Similar stories happened in American cities like New York and Philadelphia. So, were any famous people night soil men? Not exactly. This was a job people avoided talking about. But we do know that at George Washington's Mount Vernon estate, enslaved workers were tasked with cleaning privies and handling waste. Their names often went unrecorded, but they played a vital role. The English poet William Blake lived in a part of London where night soil men worked constantly. He wasn't one himself, but the harsh city life around him appears in his poetry. And in modern times, TV host Mike Rowe highlighted this profession in his show Dirty Jobs, bringing new attention to workers who rarely get any thanks. Now here's something interesting. The waste they hauled away, night soil, actually had value. Farmers used it as fertilizer. Before chemical options were available, it was one of the best ways to enrich soil. They'd mix it with ash or straw to control the smell and spread it across fields. In Asia, this practice was so common that landlords sometimes leased outhouse rights to traveling collectors who brought the waste to rice fields. In the United States, cities like Chicago and Baltimore eventually developed underground sewer systems in the 1800s. That slowly reduced the need for night soil men. But they didn't vanish overnight. Some cities still had them well into the early 1900s. If you're wondering how to find out whether someone in your family tree did this job, here are some clues. You probably won't see night soil man listed in census records, but you might come across job titles like scavenger, vault cleaner, privy digger, cesspool emptier, or sanitary worker. City directories from the 1800s sometimes spelled it out more clearly. You might also find newspaper mentions, especially if someone got sick, had an accident, or if there were debates about sanitation funding. Court records can be helpful too. Sometimes there were legal disputes over waste dumping or unpaid wages. Municipal archives in cities like Boston, Philadelphia, and New York kept ledgers of contractors hired to clean public outhouses. These can include names, addresses, and payments. And don't forget that many of these workers were immigrants, especially Irish laborers, who took the jobs no one else would. So why does it matter? Well, this job was hidden from view and often erased from polite conversation. But without it, cities wouldn't have survived. If you find that someone in your family worked in sanitation before modern plumbing, there's a good chance they were involved in this kind of labor. If you've got a hard-to-find ancestor you're stuck on, I'd love to hear about it. Just head over to ancestralfindings.com and click on Contact to send me a message. While you're there, take advantage of our free weekly genealogy lookups. Explore thousands of articles and enjoy hundreds of podcast episodes. We've been helping family history researchers since 1995. And if you're looking for even more, check out our Genealogy Gold Q&A series over on Patreon. Thanks for listening, and as always, happy searching.